And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, Newt Gingrich will join us in just a minute, plus part one of our interview with President George W. Bush about his brand new book, Portraits of Courage. But first, out of touch, liberal Hollywood elites spewing hate and attacking the president at the Oscars in a pretty disgusting display. And that is tonight's opening monologue. Yes, yet another self-congratulatory award show, as if there isn't enough. So-called tolerant liberal celebrities gathering last night at the Oscars, all patting themselves on the back and predictably bashing President Donald Trump. Now, it didn't take long for host Jimmy Kimmel to go after the commander-in-chief. Watch this.
This broadcast is being watched live by millions of Americans and around the world in more than 225 countries that now hate us. And I think that is an amazing thing. I want to say thank you to President Trump. I mean, remember last year when it seemed like the Oscars were racist? We're at the Oscars, the Academy Awards. You're nominated. You got to come. Your families are nominated. Your friends. Some of you will get to come up here on this stage tonight and give a speech that the President of the United States will tweet about in all caps during his 5 a.m. bowel movement tomorrow.
Imagine if we talked about Obama's 5 a.m. bowel movements, what the reaction would be. By the way, you notice there are a lot of these award shows. Where are the award shows for firemen, policemen, EMTs, doctors, nurses, people who save other people's lives? What you have here, holier than thou, Hollywood elites, they're just huge hypocrites. They distort everything the president says or does, but they stand by in complete silence when President Obama, for example, said things divisive like this. Take a look.
Well, it's not surprising then that they get bitter. They cling to guns or religion or antipathy towards people who aren't like them.
I need you to go out and talk to your friends and talk to your neighbors. I want you to talk to them whether they're independent or whether they are Republican. I want you to argue with them and get in their face.
We got to have middle-class families up in front. We can't, we don't mind the Republicans joining us. They can come for the ride, but they got to sit in back.
If you accept the support of Klan sympathizers before you are president, you will accept their support after you're president.
You know what, President Obama, he tore the country apart with that type of divisive rhetoric. And instead of calling it out and actually practicing what they preach, well, the Hollywood left, they stood by President Obama every single step of the way. Hollywood didn't care about Obama's failed leftist economic policies and how it led to this country's precipitous decline, hurt millions and millions of Americans in the process. You know why? You have overpaid Hollywood elites. They weren't impacted by this. They weren't a part of the 95 million Americans out of the labor force, the lowest labor participation rate since the 70s, or nearly 14 million more Americans on food stamps while Obama's president, or 8 million more Americans in poverty when he was president, nearly 50 million total. Their families weren't struggling like the rest of America to find these jobs, suffering in poverty on food stamps. They didn't care at all that President Obama accumulated more debt than every other president before him combined. Nope, their reality is not the world that you, the American people, live in. They're in a giant liberal bubble, and they're completely out of touch. They don't seem to care about middle America, do they? They don't care about all the people there in red states who voted for President Trump. As a matter of fact, they're really mocking us. And by the way, Hollywood hypocrites, they advocate for policies they're not impacted by. For example, Hollywood, they want to flood the country with unvetted refugees. Great. Well, let's put them up in Beverly Hills in their mansions. Let's put them in Malibu. Let's see how quickly they might change their minds. Now, we all know that wouldn't take very long. What's even more disturbing is how last night at the Oscars, Hollywood heaped praise on an Iranian filmmaker who boycotted the award show because of Donald Trump's temporary travel ban. Take a look at the statement that was read on his behalf after he won an Academy Award, the best foreign language film. Watch this.
I'm sorry I'm not with you tonight. My absence is out of respect for the people of my country and those of other 6 nations whom have been disrespected by the inhumane law that bans entry of immigrants to the U.S. Dividing the world into the us and our enemies categories creates fear, a deceitful justification for aggression and war. These wars prevent democracy and human rights in countries which have themselves been victims of aggression.
Really? Lecture from a guy from Iran, Hollywood cheering for this guy? The world's #1 state sponsor of terror, a country that chants death to America, death to Israel, repeatedly vows to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, burns the American flag, the Israeli flag. Now, this Iranian filmmaker, maybe he should try standing up to the mullahs in his own country before attacking America. Hollywood also appears to be oblivious to the fact that the 7 countries impacted by President Trump's temporary travel ban, how do they treat women, gays and lesbians, religious minorities, Christians and Jews? Of course, Hollywood, they weren't done attacking President Trump's policies. You have this actor, this guy, El Garcia Bernal. Look at him take another shot at the president. Take a look at this.
As a Mexican, as a Latin American, as a migrant worker, as a human being, I'm against any form of wall that wants to separate us.
Really? If those walls are so bad, why do so many Hollywood liberal elites and actors and actresses have walls around their mansions? They're not inviting us in. It's because these people are total frauds. My message tonight to these snowflakes is very simple. You people disgust me. You're out of touch with real Americans. Millions of Americans suffered because of the president you supported. And because your movies, by the way, and the issues, you don't want to reflect American values. So my advice to Hollywood, keep going the way you're going. The more you continue to undermine the president and the country and defend, a guy that lectures us when he lives in the #1 state sponsor of terror and won't dare take them on, you know what? It means more of the American people will just discover how irrelevant you all